Good morning, everybody. Welcome to London Station. It's Discovery Core Saturday, and that's when we look at games out in the marketplace or just freshly dropping in the marketplace, and today is pretty fresh. I had known that there was work being done on a little thing called The Dark Ages, I thought, but no, just Dark Ages, that's fine. Worked on by Andrew Gillis and Luke Jordan. Now, Luke Jordan's work I'm less familiar with, but I do know that Luke is in Andrew's playtesting group, as they've been posting some playtest summaries of different games that these two are both working on, which always really intrigue me. And Andrew Gillis, of course, we all know here on London Station, and Andrew joined us for an interview several months ago now, and was the writer of The Fantastic Girl by Moonlight, which I adore to pieces. So, against all odds, I am awake in time to catch this. Well, you never know. I don't know, am I ever going to drop the morning stream? I don't know. I did this partly because I knew I might need to keep a second job slot open in the evening, and also because I was like, other streamers stream in the nights. People have games at nights. Maybe people are more available in the morning. Who knows? Was it a good decision? We'll never know. But anyhow, this game, Dark Ages. Andrew Gillis and Luke Jordan, both they, them pronouns for reference. If you need to refer to them, that would be great. We're working on this. I didn't know what was happening with this. I thought it was like a hack of Apocalypse World or something of the sort, but got educated, rapidly yesterday as they dropped a playtest document for Dark Ages, which is, and we'll read it from the thing itself. This is a playtest document. It is the third draft of Dark Ages, formerly Apocalypse World, Dark Ages, which Meg and Vincent Baker developed and abandoned back in 2014. After a fruitful and compelling experiment in archaeological playtesting, we have adopted it with the Baker's blessing. It is our intention to bring the game to publication, incorporating recent developments in the PbtA design scene while honoring the unique original DNA of the game that captivated us in the first place, and that's what we're looking at today, Dark Ages. So, I'm coming in pretty blind. I am familiar with Powered by the Apocalypse games broadly. I know that they've had their origin from Apocalypse World itself, which was in, 2010-ish? Have not read or played Apocalypse World or Apocalypse World 2E. Some of the only other feedback that I've heard about Apocalypse World 2E were, some commentary on podcasts I was listening to about how it kind of shifted its design focus, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Very fascinating stuff, but the granddaddy, I suppose you could call it, of the Powered by the Apocalypse movement, which of course also birthed games like Blades in the Dark, and then you have your spin-offs Forged in the Dark from there. Good morning, Thaddeus. Hello, how are you? Good to see you here. I think that might suffice as an introductory rant and ramble. If you're new to the channel, feel free to leave a like and subscribe and do all that YouTube stuff, because we got to do it, guys. We got to do it. And also, check out our Patreon Discord community if you're so inclined to be around people who have discussions about games like we're about to have today, and you'll see some of our people. Our people. What a weird thing to say. You'll see some of my friends in the chat today as we discuss this game and look through it. Anyhow, very affordable Patreon. I believe I do still have some slots left in the budget tier, so no real reason not to join, but I'll leave that in your capable hands as we go over to this screen, which is where I need to turn on this so you can see what I'm looking at. And there we have it, Dark Ages. I'm also going to spin up a little bit of tunes, which I gotta do by doing this and this. We're going to use the Legend in the Mist playlist today, because it's kind of medievally rusticy. We'll see how much of that is relevant to Dark Ages, but anyhow, it'll get us going. Okay, so cover art I love already, by the way. It has that very I'm going to use all the wrong words because this is not my genre d'experience. But oh, look here, is this no AI used in this project, by the way, but I think Adobe has built-in AI now for cover tips. Okay, maybe they wrote this. Maybe this is AI. Cover illustration. Oh, cover by Galen Peugeot. Cover depicts 8 vignettes, all surrounding a Roman coin. The coin is being split in half by a vine, which grows through it to form a Celtic knot pattern in a ring. The vignettes depict the game's 8 domains. Oh, cool. In clockwise order from the top center, they are the new crowns, war, the grave, the other world, the old ways, the land itself, the moment, and the wider world. We are in for a treat. The new crown shows a king on a throne in an abstract composition. He's holding a gold scepter and a sheathed sword. Below the king are many smaller figures. They are courtiers and nobles gathered in distinct groups. Now, it clearly cuts off here. So anyway, a lot of thought put into the design here, and it's very evocative art. I like it. I like it quite a lot. So there you have it. A sense of things to come. So, something terrible is coming. I'm going to read this intro, word for word, and then we're going to get into it. Andrew did say we could share, whatever. Yeah, Adobe seems to auto-add AI descriptions. That seemed to be too informed about the game's rules, though, I wonder. Yeah, I know they had to go on a whole apology tour where they're like, listen, it's not us, it's Adobe. I hate it. Hate it so much. Hate that it's even a conversation. But something terrible is coming. The Empire of Eagles left us. The eldest among us still remember the shape of imperial rule. Their children, only the garrison's backs as they marched away. We knew not where they were headed, and no news ever came. Empty forts fell into decay. Kin serving in distant legions did not return. Imperial faces faded from silver coins. Bridges crumbled, and no engineers arrived to make them whole. Did the Empire burn? Withdraw? Simply crumble? Whatever the case, whatever the cause, we were abandoned to our fate. In its absence, a rupture. Long years of chaos and upheaval, but amongst the ruins, possibility. Now we stand at the precipice of the ungiven future. A resurgence of old ways vies against the advent of new crowns. War hangs in the air like a bloody knife. Dragons stir in the earth and dream of the world's breaking. In distant lands, converts kneel to a bloodless corpse god. This age is a broken thing, ours to make anew. Time now for the plunge. Dark Ages is a post-apocalyptic, historical fantasy game of personal ambition, community strife, rights claimed, and rights denied. Now, as we do here on London Station, we are going to hyperfixate on what the game tells us that it is. Because if anybody's going to know, it's the people working on it and writing it. So, there is an air of hopefulness. This ungiven future. I like that. It's ungiven, meaning it needs to be claimed and taken, and we have rights claimed and rights denied right here. So it is not given to you. You must claim it for yourself. Just like all of these, which we know from the from the art summary. New Crowns is a faction. War is a faction. I don't remember if Dragons was. We'll see. But we have these different elements vying for control, power, survival, thriving, perhaps. But I like this line. This age is a broken thing, ours to make anew. And that to me says, okay, is it coming out of Apocalypse World, which is post-apocalyptic? And is it grim dark? Is it this? Is it that? Again, I have not read Apocalypse World. I don't know much about it other than it's kind of a dystopian, Mad Max-ish type, wasteland type thing. And you can tell stories that go probably in multiple directions there, possibly. Sometimes the game's rules will dictate to you sort of the direction that you're going to be going. Here, this seems to be telling me, just from the outset, that you do have that breadth of hopefulness or despair in the stories that you choose to tell, which happens a lot in PbtA games. Really, the group is coming together and they will decide together what kind of story they want to tell. And when things stop matching up, you have people leave the group, in the most dramatic cases. They're just like, this is not the game I wanted to play or the story I wanted to tell. They will leave or they will communicate and adjust. So, anyhow, lingering on that for long enough. This is a playtest document. It's the third draft of Dark Ages, formerly Apocalypse World Dark Ages. So this is the text from the itch page that I read. This document contains core rules for the MC Master of Ceremonies, including threats, sheets and procedures for peoples, warbands, notables, wights, and trolls. Interesting that those specifically are called out. There's so many monster/adversary types in games, in fantasy, in everything, that to specify wights and trolls I think is really neat. It gives, possibly, we'll find out, it gives the game a sort of core conflict identity space to operate from within. Whereas you have your Pathfinders and your Dungeons and Dragons and your pastiche games that are a little bit of everything. You want to fight undead, you can fight undead. You want to fight vampires, you can fight vampires. You want to fight werewolves, fight werewolves. Fight slimes, trolls, whatever. But here, we're calling out some specific enemies. that he says this is pretty explicitly set in post-Roman times in which the apocalypse was the fall of the Roman Empire or Eagle Empire as named here. Very cool. Ironically, I happen to be playing a video game that is about the same exact thing. It's very, very fun, kind of cozy, but dangerous game. Anyway, 7 basic playbooks: Blacksmith, Peasant Beauty, Wicker Wise, Wayfarer, War Champion, Troll Killer, and Dragon Herald. Ah, those are so cool and evocative. Here's what I like about these, and here's what I like about, let's call it what it is. Here's what I like about Powered by the Apocalypse as a framework in the first place. Playbooks are not classes. You'd be forgiven for saying, well, they're similar enough, right? And yeah, sure, fine. You can get most of the way there, as far as them being a collection of abilities that you can choose from to affect your wants, needs, and desires into the story. But PbtA games, with their playbooks, they're not trying to cover all of their bases. Again, like with your Pathfinders and your D&Ds, you're trying to create a class-based system that can effectively represent most any power fantasy that somebody might have. So you're going to have the sneaky guy with short daggers. That's going to be your rogue or your thief or your cut purse or your whatever you want to call it. You're going to have your fighter who's swinging the sword, the armsman, the champion, the whatever. And you can mix and match these as you do. You're going to have your guy who gets really mad and rages, and that's your barbarian. You're going to have your caster, but different kinds of casters. And they try to cover as many bases as they can. They try to serve the vocal audience of these games when they say, but what about an alchemist? And then they publish an alchemist. This was Pathfinder 1st edition. Published an alchemist in the Advanced Player's Guide. So they're like, look, we get it. Some of you want a gunslinger. Some of you want an alchemist. Some of you want a mechanical guy. Some of you want somebody who can summon another creature. We'll get to it. And then they build and build, and that's their product release schedule. Powered by the Apocalypse games, with their playbook sets, use the playbooks themselves to tell you what the game is or is about. Because, and I'm getting way ahead of myself here, because within those playbooks are, in some cases, and I believe is the case here, moves. And moves, you would be forgiven for thinking they operate like feats, but they're not quite feats. Feats are rules modules that you plug in other games that allow you to do things. Moves, moreover, in my experience, are modules, rules modules that you plug into a character that tell you when you must do things, or are permitted to do things. Nonetheless, they have triggers. The triggers are usually triggering off of the fictional reality and space of the game. And what they're doing is they're indicating to you, this is the thing I say all the time, they tell you when to stop and disclaim the results to a resolution mechanic. They tell you this is what the game is about, so we're going to slow down and we're going to process this a little more slowly and a little more deliberately. So all of that to say, we have 7 playbooks here that are selling us a concept of the world. You can put some pieces together about the world building just from this list of names alone. Blacksmith. Okay, we've got forging. We've got people making things out of metal. Peasant Beauty. Wicker Wise, I don't know what to make of, but we'll figure it out. The Wayfarer is going to be your traveler sort of type person. War Champion sounds like what it is on the tin. Troll Killer, Monster Hunter type person. And the Dragon Herald. The hell is a Dragon Herald in this case? I have no idea. But it gives you a sense of scope, and after we look at them, we're going to know the types of stories that this game is trying to tell based off of what it allows you to choose from, which tells you what may trigger when you play. Okay? Sorry. That rant was probably super unnecessary for anybody who clicked onto this stream about Dark Ages and Apocalypse World and PbtA. You probably all already know, but it's good practice for me, so thank you for indulging. We've got 2 situation sheets, starting scenarios that emphasize certain types of play. Very cool. Now, this is interesting. I wonder if Andrew has brought forth sort of the series playsets that were used in Girl by Moonlight. Certain types of play, right? But maybe not. That doesn't have to fit in every game. A Stronghold, including 4 bonus playbooks. Okay. Keep, Liege, Castellan, Battle Captain, and Court Wizard. See this, but these playbooks, whoops, I didn't realize I could highlight in Adobe. I don't know how to undo it either. There we go. Yeah, these are telling like a this is a weird way to say it, but like a DLC. This is like the advanced stuff. This is something else. And then a shrine, including 4 bonus playbooks. These are the situation sheets. Okay, Okay. These are like your series play sets from Girl by Moonlight and other games that do similarly intelligent things. So the Stronghold situation is going to be your series play set, we'll call it, and that adds these playbooks to these. Whereas the Shrine includes 4 bonus playbooks: the White Binder, Mendicant, Novice, and the Pariah, and the enchantment rules. So, man, that's cool. It's already a modular game. Like, here's your baseline. Here you have certain playbooks and specific moves that go along with it, and here you have specific playbooks and rules that go along with it to tell different kinds of stories. I love it already. Now, don't worry. Just because I love it already does not mean that this game is for me. I don't know that I'm into, like, the Dark Ages medieval type of a thing as a vibe. But we're going to find out. This document does not contain commentary and advice around basic move seeds, moves, and playbooks. Commentary and extended guidance on being the MC, more situations than Shrine and Stronghold, and any additional playbooks or any examples of play. That's okay. It's a playtest document. But that's nice that that's spelled out, so people can't be like, yeah, no, I like the playtest, but it just really seems like they didn't talk about the MC guidance. They're like, yeah, we told you that. It's right here. Provide your playtest feedback here. What does this link go to? A Google form. Okay. Then Fantasified. Yeah, you're back. Okay. Let me make sure. I always forget to do this. Let me make sure my chat settings are set to live so I don't miss anything. There they go. Please only submit 1 instance of feedback per game of Dark Ages you are in. Closer to the end of the experience is better, but we welcome all your thoughts. Okay, so we might want to do this in the channel. That would be fun. I don't know. This would probably be best to run live, though. Not play by post. I know. All right, here we go. Setting. This is not our history's real Dark Age. It is not a year in Earth's real past, nor a place we could pick out on a real map. It is, however, a Dark Age of our Earth. Whoa. Oh, jeez. That's so good. It's after the fall of Rome, but before the Middle Ages. It's Northern or Western Europe. It doesn't have those kingdoms, those national and cultural borders. They turned out differently in this world, but it does have those land masses. The Mediterranean Sea is to the south, and Africa across it. Rumor says the corpse of the Empire of Eagles, the Byzantine, staggers on to the southeast, sail west to the Faroes, to Iceland, sail to Greenland, to Labrador, to Newfoundland, and you're in North America. Despite the fall of the Empire of Eagles, cross-continental trade persists. Amber, silver, timber, and furs go south and east, by sea, by river, or over land. Spices, cotton, and finished luxury goods return north and west in exchange. These lands are self-sufficient in salt, wool, linen, grain, meat, fish, iron, copper, and pottery. Fascinating. They're people who have never seen a crocodile, but have heard their name and may have handled their skin. I love that detail. I love that. The domains. I know there's a bunch of like domain work that Andrew was working on in their game Utopia's Wake. I don't know if they're called domains in there, but these groups of like different beliefs and belief structures and motivations and priorities. So I know they're very adept at this kind of work. Domains are broad thematic arenas in the world of Dark Ages within which characters claim particular kinds of rights. Okay, this is cool. Is this mechanical? If this is mechanical, that's very cool, and it makes me think actually of Household with the contracts, right? Hey, Dicey, how you doing? Good to see you. Hope you're having a good morning. We're having a great time with this already, I gotta be honest. The setting lives in the game's 8 domains: the land itself, the old ways, the new crowns, the other world, the moment war, the wider world, and the grave. The rights of the land itself and the rights of the old ways, these come from a fantasized northern European paganism. Agricultural, seasonal, concerned with the hunt and the harvest, midwinter and the 1st of May. Nature-oriented and bloody, polytheistic, profoundly local, where the goddess of one river is not the same as the goddess of the next, and you do well to learn the names and proper worship of the gods whose places you come to. There is such an insane efficiency with the words here. It's really good, guys. I knew the writing was going to be good. Like, it's a single idea, but it communicates so much about the types of people that are here, that the goddess of one river is not the same as the goddess of the next. That tells you about the people. It does. It's just you have to imagine it. You're like, what would a person be like who thought the goddess here was different than the goddess here? How would they behave? How would they act? And you extrapolate from there. This is like a paragraph that's given to you so that you can extrapolate from. And it's great. It's fantastic. Excited to see what Andrew is cooking. Cooking some good stuff. Andrew and Luke. We got to give credit to Luke, although I'm less familiar, but Luke is here. Luke is here playtesting as well. And writing. And doing whatever Luke's doing. It's in the rites of the land itself that these pagan traditions survive more openly. These are humble, earthy, everyday rites about how the people live off and travel over the landscape and keep company with each other. They belong to the people of the commons, laborers, tenant farmers, hunters, wayfarers, and free land owners. My God, this is good. The rites of the old ways are the rites of the pagan queens and kings whose traditions were threatened, disrupted, sometimes overthrown and driven out by the empire of eagles. They evoke old traditions of honor and hospitality, sacrifice, and bloodshed. They may reassert themselves now, or might be replaced forever by a newer way. The rites of the new crowns represent the novel systems adopted by the newer nobility and their subjects. They represent feudalism, administration, the rule of law, primogeniture, all built upon the ruined infrastructure that the Empire of Eagles left behind. And Christianity? Will this newer nobility become the Christian lords and ladies of our own history? They could, if that faith arrives and thrives, but they might not. Once again, reiterating, this is not our world. This is a world like our world, but different and distinct from it. And you need not carry over every assumption from ours to this one. But you can use our world to lean on for moments of understanding. I think that's neat. The rites of the other world reflect the captivating force of belief and ritual, whether worship, superstition, mysticism, or enchantment. These rites encompass the worship of fairies, ancestors, demons, ghosts, trolls, and the dragons in the earth. The physical world is not the only world the people of this dark age live in, and the worlds of sensation and imagination are as real as any material thing. That sounds awesome. I like it a lot. Explicitly non-Christian-centric setting? I don't know. It is a question we might be called to ask, or this might be all we get from it. Where it's just like, might show up, might not. Yeah, who knows? That's up to you. Oh, let's type in the command real quick. Let's do it. Voice command. I get excited and then I forget is what happens. So, all right, moving on. The rites of the moment are exceptional, extraordinary rites granted by the alignment of events or seized by sheer force of will. This is really interesting and abstract. They are timely, compelling, and undeniable, commanding the fates of others and the attention of history itself. They belong to the relentless, the charmed, and the doomed. All right. Oh my God, this is getting me excited. Okay. Look at these. The land itself, okay, belongs to these literal people. Laborers, tenant farmers, hunters, wayfarers, and free landowners. So you have people who are stratified by class and ownership. There is a domain that is stratified by what your class and status is. Okay? You have domain that has to do with, systems adopted by newer nobility. This is a concept. You have force of belief and ritual. And then you come to the moment and you say they belong to the relentless, the charmed, and the doomed. These are adjectives that could describe anybody. So you have domains that are stratified by class or by belief system or by governmental system. And then you have maybe some overlap there. And then you have domains like the moment that slice through that into different verticals and make for interesting overlaps. In a way that sort of like paganistic religions and their domains overlap as well. Just like it was saying with the land itself about the goddesses of every river being different. Pantheistic religions can be tough for people to understand who've never been exposed to them. I never have in life, and so my experience with pantheism is through games. You know, I'm not a historian. I'm not reading, about pantheistic faiths or anything like that. Nothing keeping me from doing that, of course. But it's very fascinating how these domains, however they're going to be utilized in the game, are already overlapping and crisscrossing with each other because they're not designed symmetrically. Symmetrical design is a trap in game design that I am often thinking about, and I'm not designing in a game. Oh, I'm working on something, but symmetric design is a trap. It makes things feel samey, and it makes for siloed off concepts that don't necessarily play with each other because the entire concept is about dividing. This is over here, and this is over here. Okay, this is going to be a rant-filled stream. Sorry. The blood-soaked rites of war carry the battlefield with them into the peace of hearth and home. They represent the rampant violence of this age, less organized perhaps since the Empire of Eagles fell, but just as prevalent. They belong to soldiers and captains, raiders and defenders, indifferent to progress and ignorant of mercy. That's very interesting. So again, we have soldiers and captains. These are statuses. Raiders and defenders. Who is a raider? Who is a defender? These are defined in the moment by the people who are using the words. Interesting. Solid. Fluid. Within the same domain. The rites of the wider world reach outward, both across space and through history. It's in these rites that you'll find reference to the spice trade with Africa and Asia, the distant and burgeoning faith of Christianity, and to the law of the fallen Empire of Eagles. There are also sideways references to customs and beliefs of other lands, brought here by real and imaginary centuries of trade, travel, displacement, migration, and exchange. There's like a spirit of diaspora, or of, what's the word? I don't know the right word for it. This conjures up images to me of horrifically religious conflicts. In particular, thinking about partition in Pakistan and India, and how that all went, which was not great. Read up about that if you ever want to be sad. And the rites of the grave, bleak and unearthly, are a mystery to all those who have not yet lingered on death's threshold. If you have lingered on death's threshold, some of this domain is no longer a mystery to you. Isn't that neat? To draw their attention with careless speech is to borrow trouble. Beware. This is neat, too. The concept of borrowing trouble, because it gives it a sense of, what's the word I want to use? There's a finiteness to trouble. Like, you can borrow it and give it back and, like, share it around, but you don't create new trouble. You're, like, borrowing it from all of the trouble that there is to go around in kind of this, like, entropic way. Very fun. Okay, I should have checked if this is bookmarked. It's not. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick pause because I want to scan through the document and see sort of what we're getting ourselves into, make a plan and a roadmap for the rest of the stream. We're half an hour in, and I'm usually any good for like an hour and a half, and then 2 hours, and then I start to waver. I'm learning this about myself. It's important. So we're going to tell you what we'll do. We'll go over here. And I will page through this really quick so you don't have to watch me scroll. I'll just get myself a sense for the document and how we want to proceed with it. Right, rules, conversation, etc. Let me turn this off here. In the meantime, I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're having a good Saturday morning so far and you've got good things to look forward to in your weekend. Because that would be what I would wish for you. Good stuff. Good vibes. All right, we've got people, rules, moves, rights. Oh, I can't wait to read about the rights. Stats. Okay, harm and armor. Death, experience, fate, enchantments, bounties, mantle. Ooh, mantles, that sounds fun. Mantles are powerful archetypes that can be added to the lead characters above and beyond playbooks. What? Are we doing prestige classes in PbtA? This might, okay, you guys also need to know, some of this stuff might not be new tech. This might be in many other games that I haven't seen yet. So if I get blown away by something and you're like, oh, London, cute London, they did that in 2022 in such and such game, I'll be like, I'm sorry, okay, let me be excited. First session, Okay, so this is walking you through how to game, creating characters, the MC's agendas. Here we go. Let's read these agendas quick. The MC's agendas, threefold. 1, make the Dark Age vivid. 2, make the characters live in interesting times. And 3, play to find out what happens. These are pretty common standard PbtA agendas, I would say. But I do like make the Dark Age vivid. So I'll see what they mean by that. Again, noting that the playtest document does say upfront, and honestly, that it's not telling you how to MC this thing or guidance or advice on how to do it. So you got to bring a little bit of experience to the table. Oh, here's more. Always, yeah, these are PbtAisms as well. Always say what honesty demands. Say what the rules demand. Say what your prep demands. Address yourself to the characters. Say what your move looks like, not its name. Classic PbtA stuff. Of course it would be. This is a version of Apocalypse World, which was the OG PbtA. There's actually quite a lot in these principles section too. Paint the world in vibrant ruin. There's a lot of good stuff here. Now, things like this we probably won't touch in the stream because, yes, they're good, they're great, they're PbtA. I don't want to say the word generic, but we will as a placeholder for now. Guidance on how to run PbtA games. PbtA games have been called, although it's a term that gets really prickly with some people, fiction first, which my take on fiction first means when you are resolving something. When you are looking to the resolution system or you're looking to the rules to resolve something, what is the first consideration? The fiction, if the fiction is the first consideration through which you proceed to make other decisions, that is, to me, fiction first. If you appeal to a mechanic first, then it's mechanics first game. People I have seen get really wrapped around the axle on this, and they go like, "Well, it's a narrative game, and it wants you to tell a story, so it's fiction first." I'm like, that's so vague to the point of meaninglessness that becomes useless as a term. We need these terms to mean something, and maybe my interpretations of them are wrong. I'm just kind of roughing them out. But fiction first to me means you consult the fictional reality, the fictional status. In Forged in the Dark games, this would be your position and effect are generated by the fictional realities, and then you can mess with them with mechanics. But the fiction comes first. It's just a primacy thing. It happens first. That's all it means. It doesn't mean fiction first games don't have mechanics. It doesn't mean mechanics first games don't consider the fiction. Well, I told you guys this was going to be a rant-filled episode, or whatever we want to call these. The agenda principle moves are pretty standard PbtA, correct, in my experience anyway. We got moves, which also seem, at first blush, to be largely PbtA familiar. But possibly, see, here's the shame of this, is I won't be able to look at this and tell you, this is a new twist, because I'm not that studied in that many PbtA games. I just kind of know their vibe, right? So that's unfortunate. You're going to have to go to another streamer for that, or the writers themselves. Ask them yourself, like on Blue Sky or wherever. Use your move to do this. Here's what you should do between sessions. Actually, this is a surprising amount, I would say, of GM guidance for a document that says it's not going to give you GM guidance, MC guidance, rather. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Hold on one more second. We got to do this again. When will I learn? Okay. Changing seasons. This is interesting. The passage of time is essential to the feel and play of Dark Ages. I will put this back up on screen for you guys. Passage of time is essential to the feel and play of Dark Ages. It's a game of historical fantasy. Play should move between eventful days or weeks and stretches of time where little seems to happen. Keep the months and seasons turning. I wonder if, having read this, I will ever be tempted to look at Pendragon, or if this is just going to be like, nah, I'm good. I got this. I think the twist of this game lie in the rights and how that interacts with the fiction, either being denied or reinforced. Yeah, that's the part I'm excited to get into. I could tell from talking about the rights and the domains in the beginning that that's where a lot of the juice is here, from me anyway. Whereas the rest is it shouldn't be undervalued. We say, oh, that's PbtA framework. That doesn't mean it's not something to be excited about, but what makes this game novel and stand out potentially from others is going to be those elements, I think. Creating a threat, traditions. Okay, that's wild. So we're going to have to look at that closely. Traditions. Pillars. Right, this is for creating a threat. So traditions as a threat, which is wild, radical game design already. Pillars, a central person who holds a singular influence within a people, place, or tradition, can be a threat. Warlords can be a threat. That makes sense. War bands can be a threat. Landscapes can be a threat. This is cool. This is cool how it breaks these down. Sorry if this isn't new. It's new to me. Pinpoints. Pinpoint isn't a person. It's something inanimate that nonetheless possesses some form of agency, influence, or power. Cool. Cool. Wights. A wight is an insubstantial creature of impulse, emotion, or memory that haunts a group or a person. And they can be many different kinds. Oh man, this is cool. Trolls. A troll is a terrible, impossible creature that has inhuman, unnatural hunger and hate. So troll may be a catch-all phrase for all sorts of monstrous creatures. We'll find out. You guys are going to love this when I actually show it on screen. And then this is an example, I think, with some poetry as well. I think how the threats are laid out is really helpful. It's so cool. It's such a cool way to go about creation. Handout procedures. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is so cool. Notable. Troll. Here we go. Troll and monster are interchangeable. Trolls shouldn't and can't exist, but do. They are terrible, impossible creatures. They aren't people, though they sometimes look and speak as people do. You cannot win them over, size them up, stir their passions, etc. Neat. Wights are insubstantial. They can never be killed. Creating a war company. Creating your belongings, clothes, and arms. And an appendix. Just neat ideas. Enchanted treasures. Names. A names list. Everybody loves names lists. If you don't love names lists, I don't know what to tell you. They're cool. You know what else is cool about names lists? If you have a names list, you don't have to go online to go to a name generator, because we no longer know if name generators are actually generating names from random lists or if they are just being processed through LLMs somewhere else and literally using processing power to give you something that could be written on a table somewhere. I saw somebody make a post about this the other day. Anyway, that's a cool thing. All right, let's back it up and figure out where we want to pick back up. I stopped right here. So I will tell you guys that this is awesome. It's free, by the way. I'm 90% sure I put the link in the description, so you can go download this playtest document. Run it with a group. Give your feedback to Andrew and Luke. But with that said, we're going to keep digging in to the text here. And, it's giving a little bit, the way this is set up and laid out and everything. And it's like, create this custom thing. It's giving me a little bit of Legend in the Mist, but almost like going deeper in a different direction than Legend in the Mist does, which I think is really cool. Peoples. It was the policy of the Empire of Eagles to displace people. They stationed their legions and appointed their governors so that governors didn't rule and soldiers didn't patrol among their own people. They encouraged free and wide travel and trade, emphasizing their subject status as citizens of the Empire over their local ethnic ties. That's how you destroy peoples. They also systematically displaced their internal enemies and rivals to break their bases of power and support within their empire. When the empire fell, some of these peoples departed with it, but others stayed. Some integrated, and some kept their identities, their beliefs, customs, and history. Thus, here at the edges of the old empire and after its fall, there live pockets and remnants of people whose ancestors were born far away across ocean and continent. Furthermore, though the empire fell, trade persists. On the trade routes and sea roads, people still come from the reaches of the world, chasing their fortune or their fate. I have a lot to say about this, and maybe this isn't the stream for it. But, I did make mention, like, this is how you destroy people. You separate them, and you homogenize them, and you make it so that everybody's the same under the big banner of your empire. That sounds like I'm decrying that as extremely evil and manipulative, and it can be. And I think in the example given here with the Empire of the Eagles, it is intended to be that way. I don't mean to suggest that there is anything inherently wrong with homogenizing as a new people with new goals and new direction. I think the problem is when it's done by force or coercion or threat of punishment or whatever else. So I just want to be clear about that. Socioeconomically, or whatever you want to call it. Some of this is rubbing me the wrong way in regards to the allusion to actual history. Fair enough. You are somebody who knows actual history, and I'm not, so it doesn't bother me at all. Does not bother me at all. But so you would probably prefer that it just doesn't even bother to allude to real history, perhaps. Anyhow. But yeah, some departed, some stayed, some integrated, some kept their identities. What I like is that this gives you it's kind of a blank slate. It's kind of a like, well, you were under this way of being and now you're not. So what do you make of yourself now? Who are you? Who do you become? And those are stories that I find fascinating. So it's about looking forward from this moment and finding out what the story is going to be. Also, I think this, I don't know if this is intended. I'm super hyper reading into this. Trade persists. When I see trade persists, I'm like, what's the character's name? Ian Malcolm, whatever. Like, life finds a way. It's like people find a way to survive. As much as ruling powers can fall into thinking that they're absolutely necessary and essential and you rely on them, and wouldn't things be so much worse without them? Yes, there would probably be a destabilization period, and that might be very unpleasant, and people might die and get sick, and all sorts of things might break. But the human spirit is somewhat resilient, and I'm extrapolating the fact that trade is persisting into the idea that, like, humanity is persisting. Trade is cooperation. Trade represents us getting into specialization as we, again, not a historian, not a, what would be the word? Not an archaeologist. What's the word of the people that study the people? Anthropologist. Thank you, brain. But as we developed agriculture, et cetera, we realize, okay, well, I can do this pretty well, and now I'm realizing I can do this thing that I can do pretty well at scale. And if I just focus in on this, and you focus in on the thing that you're good at over here, and then we trade, we actually elevate. So we develop efficiencies, and some people will say that these are natural market forces that will take effect, and that they will eventually lead you into one of many different, economic models. But when I see trade persists, I think of like blood flow in the body, like it's carrying oxygen to your cells. Things are moving, and they're helping each other. This is probably a terrible metaphor. Industrial revolution, yeah. I see trade persists, and what my heart feels is like humanity persists. Life goes on. Our essence goes on. Our spirit goes on. Whatever. Getting sentimental, I guess. Good trade leaves both sides with more value than they had before. Amen to that. And then, people get all fucky with it, and they do all sorts of weird stuff to manipulate the systems themselves. Of course, crazy things happen at scale. I'm not gonna claim that I know what any nation in modern times should do with their trade policies. It sounds fun, though. It sounds like a fun thing to get into. In play, when you create lead characters to play, this is the context into which you create them. A dark age of our real Earth, but not our real history, concrete in its systems of rights, not in its precise location in time or geography. Again, with my extra textual analysis, this is here for a reason. Things don't make their ways into documents without having a reason, and if they have been playtested to even this point where it's now a playtest document, it's here because it needed to be. Whether that was through feedback of people doing other things than the plan or elsewise, they're saying to get the experience from this game, you need to understand this. That's why it's written here in the first place. I know, sometimes I say these things and I'm like, this is written because it needed to be. And it's like, yeah, of course, London. But I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm 14 and this is deep. Rules. Okay, so we are probably going to skim this, not because it probably doesn't say things in a new and interesting way, but I think my audience generally, please speak up if you don't feel this way. We generally understand the conversation of PbtA games. It's the idea that the MC, will say, is narrating to you the situation, and then you are describing what you are trying to do. And then we say, let's take a break here and pause because we're going to resolve this in this way. You say, I don't really think I would have triggered that way because, no, maybe it wasn't clear. So my character is doing this in this way for this reason. You go, okay, yeah, let's not trigger that here, but it will trigger if you do something like this in the future. And they go, okay. Or it might be like, we're going to trigger this and you're going to do it with some sort of penalty. And you're like, why am I getting a penalty? And you're having a conversation about the fictional reality that is justifying the way that you're applying the mechanics. That's such a loose and like layman's way to explain the conversation in PbtA. It's more than that. It's more technical than that. But you may read about it for yourself. Moves. Okay, now, I have not, to this day, played a game that has moves. I've read games that have moves, but I've never played games that have moves. I learned PbtA through Offworlders, which is a super lightweight science fiction PbtA game. I've played Girl by Moonlight. Forged in the Dark doesn't have moves, has the action ratings, and you use those in a semi-approach slash skill slash ability kind of way. But I've never played anything with moves. So moves are this is what I call them. Moves are the rules modules that you plug into the game, because PbtA games can be very modular like this. And what they do is they tell you what the game cares about. They tell you what the game wants you to stop and slow down and do. So, moves. We have 3 sets: the basics, battles, and season moves. Basic moves are actions that the lead characters can take at will whenever they have both the opportunity and the ability to take them. That's interesting. A lot of move language that I've seen does not describe it as, actions that the character can take. A lot of them these are actions that the characters will take when they're triggered. Like, it is like, you will do this because the game is telling you. Well, trade is realizing you can obtain what you need without slaughtering each other. That's a factor of it, sure. I'm still not sure what they're meaning by Dark Age. That's fine. You have to play Monster Hearts. I'm shocked you haven't yet. You and maybe everybody else are shocked that I've never played Monster Hearts. I've never even read it. I don't have it. Should we go back and go back to their description of Dark Age? I don't know if this will be helpful or not, but I know you already have the document too. Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't have the historical context or knowledge to even experience the dissonance. So you're on your own, Thaddeus. I send you out into the world to be as smart as you always are and figure it out. All right. Battle moves resolve battles between companies. They call for commanders to make decisions about how to conduct the battle. First the attacker, then the defender, and give the consequences. Okay, so these are moves at scale, we'll call them. Season moves are long-term activities that occupy the lead characters for the rest of the season. MC can call for the end of the current season at any time in play, with or without warning. When they do, every lead character gets to make a season move. That's cool. I like that. All of the lead characters have recourse to all of the moves. I didn't pick up on this before, but we have lead characters. I'm wondering if we're going to have some sort of troop mechanics. And having skimmed through to the end, we might see some interesting design here. Monster Hearts 2 has the best safety section I have read. It's worth reading and playing. I believe you. I've only heard great things. It does strike me as a game that maybe is a little on the nose for me. Like a little overt in ways that I'm like, I don't need to go that far. But perhaps I'm unfairly judging it. Let's see. When you make a move, roll 2 dice and add your stat. Usually this results break down as follows, but there's some moves and rights that are exceptions. Now they're going to specify d6 dice here, probably later on. 6 or less is bad outcome, 7 and 9 good outcome, but will sometimes include a twist or complication. Some of 10 or more is the best outcome. This is interesting. Now this might be Apocalypse World language. Again, I don't have the rigorous study history of PbtA and its evolutionary forms. But games that use this paradigm, the 6-, 7 to 9, 10 plus, they all have different names for these things, and so do Forged in the Dark games, because Forged in the Dark games, although you're doing a d6 dice pool, they map roughly to the same numerical distribution. They just have a different method for engaging. Whereas in PbtA, you're adding a stat and maybe some bonuses to a flat 2d6. In Forged in the Dark, or games like it, you are adding actual dice, and you are looking for the highest result. Mathematically, though, they share very interestingly similar curves. So these always have different names, and this is one of those moments where when you're looking at a PbtA game of any kind, look for this, and then look for what they call their result states, because it'll tell you stuff about the game. So bad outcome, good outcome, but will sometimes include a twist or complication, and the best outcome. These guys are smart. They choose words very deliberately. If they don't mean for this to say the best outcome, then they will change it, and you will see it change in future versions. But for now, it says the best outcome, which to my read is this is the best way this could possibly go, given what you are trying to do and what the situation allows for. The best situation. There is no gradation here. A lot of games will say 6 or minus is a miss, 7 to 9 is a mixed success, and 10 more is full success. But full success doesn't communicate the same thing as best outcome, does it? It doesn't. Best outcome tells you more about what you can extrapolate from that. So I actually really like that language if it's intended to be there. If the game doesn't want you to have always the best outcome possible, they wouldn't use it. Okay, more rants. It can be on the nose, but can also be very deep. We are not here for Monster Hearts, so I will stop. Oh, that's all right. Hey, we can talk about whatever in chat. You never know. As long as it's spawning off of the side of the conversation we're having, I'm good with it. On we go. All right, this is going to be really, I'm going to do this to myself again. This is going to be really, really, really chunky, and I'm so ready for it. Okay, it's only 2 pages, but I think this is going to be at one of the huge cores of this game. I might be wrong. We'll find out. Rights give individual lead characters their own unusual abilities, modifiers to the moves, or other situational benefits. They can have both game, mechanical, and purely fictional effects. Here's how they work. Number 1, your rights are statements of narrative or mechanical fact that all the players agree are true about your character. Okay. What's the game I was just looking at? It's not Nobilis. Oh, this is going to bother me. Sorry, I got to look it up. What's the game with the sentences? We were just looking at it in our Discord the other day. It is called Realis. Realis. Super weird game. Super interesting game. But Realis, its entire mechanical identity is that you interact with the game through sentences that are true about your character, and as the sentences grow more powerful, they grow more niche. It's a very strange game, but the concepts of like narrative truth that are tied to words that are given mechanical weight has been in so many games. Fate does this with Aspects, Legend of the Mist engine, I should say, rather, because City of Mist, Otherscape, Queers, they're all the same. Tags are just narratively true things that you can interact with. There are other game systems that take your background, for example, in I want to say 13th Age, the way it does backgrounds is, your background is like, I am I was the chief baker to the king, and then everything that it would make sense to be true of the chief baker of the king that streams down from there is assumed to be true as well, because you pin it to the fiction. It's like pinning it to the corkboard. You're saying this is true now and forever and for always, until or unless it changes. Realis, thank you. So statements of narrative is the key thing here. Statements of narrative fact. This means that if you claim a new right on your playbook, then you do have such a right. It is your fellow player's job to respect and support it. It is not part of the MC's job to challenge your rights or to thwart them or to take them away from you. However, the world and the characters who inhabit it are not obliged to agree or cooperate. This is interesting. This means that played honestly, the MC's threats and notables and your fellow players' characters may well deny you your rights. are likely to do so even as their own interests and fates set them at odds with what the players agree that your character is owed. This is all a sleight of hand, as the players are, of course, responsible for every part of the world and its characters, but it is a useful way to organize the following. As players, no one should be actively seeking to deny you your rights. As arbiters for the world and its inhabitants, what honesty or their prep demands might lead to just that. This is really, really good. It's really fascinating. Yeah, that's cool. Really, it's just saying, like, don't be a dick. Don't be a dick at the table and, like, try to actively undermine other people. But if you can say, well, my character would do this. Oh, God, we're going to get into the rant about this, what my character would do. All right. Here we go. That's what my character would do. This has come up on our streams before. It is, I would say, a straw man at this point for people who like to roleplay within their character's motivations and decisions, and they go like, oh, that's just another player who's like, well, that's what my character would do. It's like, yeah, you can have assholes who do anything. And the asshole character who says that's what my character would do is when they take what their character would do and then they actively seek to undermine the group, the table, or the design intentions of the game itself. That's when you are doing it wrong. That doesn't mean that considering what your character would do is inherently bad or wrong. In fact, it's actually, to me and to many others, the heart of role-playing. So, if it is what your character would do to challenge the rights of another character, then that's what you do. That's what it means by do what honesty demands. Do what your prep demands. Your prep, we'll figure out what they mean by this in the actual text, but your prep as the master of ceremonies, the things that you have put together, the things that you know are happening in the background even if they have not yet been shown on screen is what I take that to mean. These things are legitimate and real. So, I told you, a rant-filled stream. We're only an hour in, and I'm on rant like 7 already. This is great. Played honestly, MC's threats and notables and your fellow players' characters may well deny you your rights, which is what you would want and expect. Played honestly is like saying if you're playing a video game. The video game's coding is not trying to screw you over. It's not actively making decisions or choices or changes to screw over your build or your thing or your whatever. It might just be that this boss fight that you're coming up to with your build, which is using a greatsword, is like, wow, greatsword is not good against this thing. Because it's played honestly. It's already been coded in ahead of time. Well, we can't code it in ahead of time. We're at a live table. But we have all the inputs. And then we can synthesize all the inputs. And we can all discuss and agree together on what makes sense to happen. You should always do what your character would do, but you should make a character that is interesting and fun for the other players. You should always do what your character would do, but you should make a character that is interesting and fun for the other players. I might find myself getting into a debate about what the you should blank would be filled in with. But that's I could spend an hour on that discussion. That's a fascinating framing that I would like to get into a discussion about. That is that is definitely too big of a rant for today. That is absolutely one possible angle. Is you could find players who agree that you want characters who are interesting and fun for the others, but that might not be that group's priorities, and it might not be a universal priority. So appreciate all your comments though, super much. Gives us lots to muse upon. Oh, here we go. It is fruitful to have your rights denied. Consider the story of a young prince whose parents' rule was overthrown. We can imagine this character's rights: to rule the stronghold, to impose law on the villages under the stronghold's protection, and so on. Where does the dramatic momentum of this character live? In their golden youth before tragedy struck? In their triumphant rule after reclaiming the throne? Or in the cruel and bloody tumult that lies in between, struggling to win what they and the storytellers agree should by all rights be theirs, but the world has denied them? Of course, there is also plenty of interest to be had in the burdens of a throne. It is not that fictional rights are better when denied, just that they are powerful either way. Of course, there is also plenty of interest to be had in the burdens of a throne. It is not that fictional rights are better when denied, just that they are powerful either way. Fictional rights are powerful either way. But Okay, so I'm parsing this out. You're watching me think in real time. Fictional rights are powerful either way. However, it is fruitful to have your rights denied. So we have to look at this word fruitful, which is a word I absolutely love. There is I've said this on stream several times now. I know not everybody watches every stream. There is a modality for approaching the concept of good and evil and reframing it as fruitful versus unfruitful that I do enjoy wrestling with. The concept that like what creates more, what adds more life, what adds more vitality, what bears more fruit becomes what we think of as good. But the actual core root of it is that fruitfulness. Whereas unfruitfulness, things that are decaying, producing less, withdrawing, offering less value, is what we come to associate with evil. But at its root is actually the unfruitfulness. So it gets into this whole concept of like, well, what is life? What is any of this all about? And it's like just this perpetuation of the ongoing cycle of life. And it's like, yeah, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I like games that make me think about what the point of life is, though. That's fun. So, I like that section. Number 4, you have recourse when you consider your rights to have been denied. This is very interesting use of tense here. Because it doesn't say, and again, these are smart guys, when you consider your rights have been denied. You consider them to have been denied. Yes, that is a very nuanced use of tense there, and it's been far too long since I've taken a grammar course to know exactly what to say about it, but it is interesting. This fruitfulness is just utilitarianism. In other words, who gets to decide what is valuable? I disagree. Isn't utilitarianism about what serves the majority of people, which is a totally different conversation? I think. But I'm going super abstract. You've got a tree that bears a sort of fruit, and if it bears that fruit, or it bears more of that fruit, that's what I mean by fruitfulness. And if that tree withers and dies and draws back and within itself and does not produce that fruit, like, yeah, who decides which we prefer? The one that enables us to live, basically. This was my point. But utilitarianism is kind of a totally different slice of the pie, in my book. Okay, what is our resource? Rights need enforcing to feel real, and that's your job as players of lead characters. You have to advocate for their rights, call attention to them, remember to invoke them, insist upon them when they have been refused. Your primary tool for doing this is one of the basic moves, denied your right. Denied your right presents an escalating series of options, ranging from accepting this injustice with dignity, a simple reminder that the right does exist, all the way up to stopping play to discuss what has happened and determine if this is truly where the story will go. Every outcome of denied your right lends consequence to the denial of a character's rights and communicates how keenly felt that denial was, from brief indignity to divine affront, from the character's dismay to your own objection. Sometimes this is punctuation, an expressive choice to reinforce what the table knows to be true about your character. Sometimes this will change the course of your game, whether your character refocuses their efforts around it or you speak up as their player to advocate on your behalf. You know what else this is reminding me of? And of course it's going to, because they're all powered by the apocalypse. And they're all, in this case, these two games I'm about to talk about, this one and another, are about a alternate historical world that yet has some sort of magical essence to it that's not quite our world. But it's reminding me of Defy the Gods. Defy the Gods has a much more clear, like, these are the 5 world forces, and this is you, and there's conflict between you and them, and we're going to tell the story of how you navigate that conflict. But the whole thing about Defy the Gods is it doesn't have stats or numbers or anything of the sort. What it does is it uses epithets, which are truths about your character, like these rights, statements of narrative fact. The epithets are just like these narrative truths about your character that you can rely on for additional power in your roles, basically mechanically. But they can be depowered, they can be supercharged, they can grow and change, and they also represent your health. When you lose all your epithets, or they all turn into doom epithets, you become something else. Fascinating game. We did a look at the quick start way early on. By the way, the channel's almost 6 months old, guys. Can you believe it? Yeah, we're 1 week away from 6 months. So, yeah, Defy the Gods, also fascinating game. I still need to get my copy of that. Okay, so sometimes it's an expressive choice to reinforce what you already know. Sometimes it'll change the course of the game. And rights work in a few different ways. Some rights are statements of fictional fact about a character. You have the right to ready your household for what's coming as you see fit, while others are mechanical procedures triggered by particular fictional circumstances. When you gossip in a private setting, you have the right to roll good. That must be one of our stats. The first set are the most likely to be denied, as the actions of other characters or forces in the world can readily refuse such a statement. Okay. Got it. Even in the absence of action, they might find that their rights are contradictory or in conflict with the rights of another. The mechanical rights are less commonly denied to a character. This can only happen when the MC makes a rare intervention saying that some fact of the fictional situation supersedes a character's mechanical right in that moment. Mostly this will arise because of the MC's insight into information about supporting characters and other threats that the lead character's player was not aware of. Otherwise, because these rights are procedural, their workings activate and operate as a matter of the game's own logic. Both types of rights, despite their differences, drive story and conflict through their use. Mechanical rights through direct action upon the world and the people in it, and fictional rights by making sweeping statements that invite contestation, stake out territory, establish hierarchies, and shape the choices that characters make. Now, here is a thought that I am sure these gentlemen have already had. These could have been given different names, and it would have made it very clear. Each one would have its own definition. Each one would have its own pointer references to when they're being invoked and when they're not being invoked. But the decision was made or preserved from possibly the original Dark Ages documents. Dark Ages, yes, not the Dark Ages, not Dark Age, Dark Ages. Got it. And so they could be different. And I think the answer as to why they're not different is right here. And maybe this is part of something that would be playtesting feedback, if anyone disagreed at the usefulness of this. But this right here, both types of rights, despite their differences, drive story and conflict through their use. So what they have done is they have prioritized naming things by their function. And since both types of these serve the same master function, which is to drive story and conflict through their use, they share a name. That allows you to keep the focus on their function that they provide in the game design and not about the nuance, about the mechanical underpinning for each one. You may agree or disagree that that's a good thing to do, but I think that is why it was done. Finally, your rights never allow you to bypass the moves or other mechanics unless they say so explicitly and by name. Underpinning every moment in play are the conversation, the shared fictional world, and the rules of the game. The rights are a piece of that puzzle with their own place within it. They do not override or cancel out any other piece entirely. For example, the right to slay whom you must for the protection of all does not let you, the player, simply declare people dead. Your character still needs to do the work and inflict the necessary harm while your victim tries actively to thwart you. It's up to your character to assert and enforce their rights within the fiction. In many ways, that's the game. This is huge. And it's so simple that sometimes I feel so silly for drawing so much attention to these things, and I'm like, nobody wants to watch this content. But you're here, so I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. In many ways, that's the game. That's the game. To assert and enforce their rights within the fiction. This is a game about personal ambition, community strife, rights claimed and rights denied. This is a game about where was it? There was a really good sentence in here somewhere. I missed it. Where is it? There's another sentence that we already read that I drew attention to, but I'm linking it back. I'm linking it back. I'm trying to scan really quickly. Maybe it was up here. It was. It was literally right above that. This age is a broken thing, ours to make anew. Time now for the plunge. This is not the bolded, this is what the game is about section, but it does, this is about the setting. This age is a broken thing, ours to make anew. Like, to make is the infinitive, right? Did I use that word right? Maybe not. To make anew is like the driving force here. You have not a blank slate, but you have a slate from which to make things happen, to make things real, to realize things. You do that by exploring personal ambition, community strife, rights claimed, rights denied. You do it by pursuing your rights. You do it by asserting and enforcing your rights within the fiction. That's what the heart of this game is so far, to me. That is an exciting premise for a game, to me. This is a game that is about possibility. It has a hopefulness to it because it's not beating us down at this point. Maybe it will mechanically later and just be like, you're miserable. You get diseased all the time and half your family dies all the time. Whatever. Maybe that's coming. But I think it's interesting in a way. I look at games, I've said this before, say it again. The three things I look for when I come to a role-playing game is I want to learn about myself, learn about my friends, and have new experiences. To what end? Well, that's not necessarily my focus on the end state of those things. I want to go through those things, and I think it's because I generally have favorable outcomes from them. But I think one of the ends is to have new experiences. That third one I always call back to is to maybe like learn something useful that I can apply to my life. And if this game, Dark Ages, is about like a kind of semi-shattered world where you're trying to assert what's yours and claim what's yours, and you know, maybe you do that in a way that's like toxic. Like maybe you're playing a character who's not that good of a person. But what this is going to do is it's going to reinforce and teach you through the play of it to assert and enforce your rights within the fiction. And I think maybe that's something we could all learn to do better in the modern world. I think that I mean, I wasn't even thinking about this from a trans lens. Believe it or not, I wasn't. But rights they're a big thing. And I like how the game has tucked rights into this kind of like rules nodule in a way that it doesn't feel like it's like, I don't think anybody would read this and be like, oh my god, this game is so woke. But at the same time, it's doing important work. It's talking about identifying what it means to be a character, to be this character, to know narrative mechanical facts about them, and then the entire gameplay loop is about engaging with who you are and like getting what you ought to get, or striving for it, or advocating for yourself, whether or not the world agrees with you. So I think this is beautiful. This is really exciting and really good. Here's our stats. We are variously bold, good, strong, wary, and weird. Bold meaning decisive, impressive, impulsive, rousing, or ardent. These are not all positive things. Impulsive can always have a negative twist. You'll roll bold to leap into action and stir someone's passion. These are moves. You'll also roll it for soldiering and stewardship when the seasons change. Okay, so these are season moves, soldiering and stewardship. Good, meaning gracious, easygoing, likable, pleasant, polite, or couth. You'll roll good to win someone over. You'll also roll it for in exile and traveling when the seasons change. Oh my god, okay, there's so much to unpack here already. Strong, meaning forceful, strong-willed, violent, stoic, or hale. You'll roll strong to join in single combat and push through. You'll also roll it for working the land when the seasons change. Wary, meaning alert, cautious, subtle, suspicious, or canny. You'll roll wary to take stock and size someone up. You'll also roll it for hunting and foraging and keeping watch when the seasons change. Weird, meaning uncanny, lucky, god-touched, cursed, or queer. Hey. You'll roll weird to consult the other world. You'll also roll it for ritual and celebration when the seasons change. I'm getting emotional, sorry. All right, so we have these stats. And look at these 5. These are elements of the game that you are going to have numbers in. And those numbers are going to tell you how good at this thing you are. And you're going to use those numbers to modify the effects that you're trying to create in the world, which means generally if you could have all of these maxed out, you would. Which means the game is telling you these are things that we are associating as, we'll call it fruitful. To be bold, which fits into everything we just talked about. To be good, meaning what it means, but in this case, gracious, easygoing, likable, pleasant, polite, or couth. This is the game text saying this is what good means to us. These are things that we are calling good, and these are things that you could be like, yeah, maybe I do enjoy spending time with people who are gracious, easygoing, likable, pleasant, polite, or couth. Who can also be bold. They can also be strong, forceful, strong-willed, violent, stoic, or hale. What was the one I was going to say? Okay, good, right? I want to contrast this. One of the season moves for good is in exile. Isn't that interesting? Traveling now, you could say, well, maybe you become gracious, easygoing, likable, pleasant, polite, or couth by having the experience of travel. I was attending a lecture that was given by Rick Steves. You know, Rick Steves Europe guy. And his position on what he thought would help the world, of course, you know, people want to promote their thing, right? So he's like, travel is incredible. Travel helps you understand other cultures, other people, trying different foods, seeing different people in action, seeing love in its different forms, seeing how community shapes in different ways, and coming to an understanding. And it's a lot harder to feel like it's okay to launch bombs at places that you've been. That was Rick Steves' thoughts about how to mitigate and diminish conflict worldwide, is to travel more. It sounds kind of, too cute to be true. But, a lot of things in a lot of different countries and a lot of different places still happen on the backs of voters voting to allow it to happen or not voting to not allow it to happen. Okay? Fair enough, right? There's also countries where you don't get to vote, so it's not this simple. But there's another rant for you. If you can afford to travel. Yeah, tell me about it. I mean, the last trip I took of any sort of meaningful distance or time or space was in 2012. I went to Spain. It was lovely. Let's see. Strong and wary. Now, wary being a trait that you may want to be in use of in dark ages when things are a little up in the air, meaning alert, cautious, subtle, suspicious, or canny. This is a defensive, protect yourself. CYA. Yeah. And then weird. And they had to throw the queer in here, which, like I said, made me emotional. You are other, basically. And then they say consult the other world, quite literally. But you're uncanny. A little different. Lucky. Which, if you're lucky, maybe that means people are like, I should spend time around this lucky person. Or maybe they're like, this person's a witch, we should burn them. God-touched, cursed, or queer. And this could be meant in its modern use or not. In either way, I think it fits perfectly here, so I appreciate it. Maximum for any of these is +3. Minimum is -3. Most will be -1 to +2. Looking at my notifications, sorry. Harm and armor. Weapons and protective gear give you 2 ratings. Now, y'all know me. I don't like gear. I don't like dealing with it. But when it's going to be reduced to something as simple as harm and armor, I'm probably alright with it. When you strike, you inflict your weapon's harm minus their armor. When you're struck, you suffer their weapon's harm minus your armor. This is called harm as established. Okay, because then you could probably react to it after the fact. So you calculate the harm total that is incoming and then you see if you're going to do something about it, probably. 2 kinds of protective equipment, armor and helmets. Oh my gosh, it has hit locations, head and everywhere else, which are probably the only 2 that I would bother splitting off. I think it's an archaic form of cure, but who says the text can't be interpreted differently? Yeah, I mean, you know. This is the guy who wrote Girl by Moonlight. The fella. God Touched Queer is my title as a Dark Souls enemy. I love it. I love it. Okay, armor and helmets, many kinds of weapons. You can carry more than one if you like. Their harm is never combined. Why would it be? Perfect. Use the harm rating of the weapon that strikes the blow. Now, why would you? I wonder. We'll have to find out. Shields are a special case. They're active weapons used not only to ward off blows, but to force openings through which you can strike. When you use a shield, you get +1 to armor, but also +1 to your harm. Nice. Cool. Like that. Makes sense. When you suffer harm, go to the meeting death section of your playbook. Now remember, when we read the domains, it talked about the grave domain. And the grave domain said, like, if you've not faced death, then this is all a mystery to you. But it's like, if you have come close to facing death or whatever, which is what this feels like it's calling back to. So I think that's cool. Cross out lines equal to harm is established in order from top to bottom. Oh my god. Oh my god, they've done it again. The first uncrossed line is the one that at the moment prevails. Oh my gosh. It's a procedural gradation of narrative truth of your status. Until you've crossed out, I will yet survive this, your life is secure. Once you have crossed it out, if nothing changes, the next time the sun rises, you suffer 1 harm. When you cross out, I will see another sunrise. You're dying and all strength leaves your body. You might limp along with support, you might crawl to shelter, you might reconcile your quarrels or bid farewell to your loved ones, but your capacity for dramatic action has run out. Oh, so you don't have to die in the moment, but it's like you're done. Like, make peace with your loved ones. Put your affairs in order. Character's done for. Sometime before the next dawn, you must face death, so you have freedom to kind of determine how that works. The timing will depend on the circumstances that brought you here and the MC's whim. Brutal. Medical care can clear 1 line from meeting death, starting from the bottom. Prayer and enchantment, or spending the rest of the season in rest and recovery, can also clear lines. It's narrative health points. That's so cool. When the new season begins, any lines you have crossed out become permanent. Black them out. They can never be cleared. Whoa! This is so cool. Oh, this is so cool. All right, I think the playbooks were a separate download. Let me see. I think I got it somewhere here. No, I didn't. I need to go download that so we can actually start, because now we have things that we need to like refer to. I could have sworn I downloaded this, but I did not. Here you go. Here's your playsets. Here's the blacksmith. So your rights are kind of sitting in the slot of where you might say that playbook moves would operate. So the game has moves that are universal pretty much to all players, is what it had said. And then there's battle moves and season moves. And those are kind of like your baseline moves of the game. And then it does have playbook moves, but not, because they're called rights. So you choose 4 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you get to start with half of them, which is quite a bit. So as a blacksmith, here's your stats. You have the right to blood recompense when you are wronged, and to muster warriors as your champions there too. During battle, anytime you would personally suffer harm, one of them will interpose themselves and take it in your stead. Wow. You are a free landowner. You have these rights to ready your household for what's coming as you see fit, to offer hospitality and protection to those under your roof, to treat and contract with your neighbors, to the fruits of your labor and the increase of your household. So it's probably fair to say that the blacksmith does not literally have to be a blacksmith, but possibly they maybe should be. And then here's what we wanted to look at. Oh, also stat array. Choose your stats. You get a +2 to strong, so that's dictated, and then you get +1/+1 0 and -1 to something else. Interesting. Meeting death. I will live to be 100. Cross that out. I will die well in an advanced age. I will live for decades yet. I will live to see another spring. I have more to do before I die. This is wild. Okay, so imagine you cross out, I have more to do before I die. You no longer have more to do before you die. So as the player, you're like, okay, let me get in the headspace where it's like, your story is ending. There's nothing big left for you to do. Now, maybe you can heal that. You uncross that out. But if this holds crossed out through the end of the season, it gets blacked out and becomes permanent. And now you say, okay, this character's story is wrapping up. As a player, you get to know that, which is so cool. I will yet survive this. I will see another sunrise. When you face your death, mark 1. So face your death is the very last thing. Come back wrong. Black out one of your rights and choose an unmarked right of the grave to replace it. Huh. I don't think we've seen that yet. Or breathe your last and die. Okay, we've got fates, which are going to be some sort of relationship mechanic we haven't got to, and then harm and armor. Belongings and experience on reverse. This is cool, guys. Okay, the Wickerwise is healer, counselor, bloody to both elbows. Interesting. Wise one, basically. Wayfarer. And let's see what the experience sheet looks like. Okay, what's the Dragon Herald? A prophet of old cast-off ways, born into a gasping, dying world, eyes bright with the terrors of the future. Interesting. They're kind of like a cult leader. Very neat. Very neat. Oh, and then we have the extra playbooks depending on if you're doing the series playsets. Yeah, I figured it was in the back. In the back. Da 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 da. Did that spill over? What is this page? This is a blank one. Got it. Look, belongings and experience. Very interesting that it actually asks you to like consider your character's clothing. But there's a lot more to this game that we haven't even touched yet. Personal belongings, arms and armor. This is great too. It's like you've got a drinking cup, you've got a knife, you've got armor, helmet, shield, and weapons. Like, describe them here, but like, you've got those things. Experience. Oh, okay, so you can mark experience towards the domains, and then when you tick that, then you get a new right, which is going to be a move, but it's not going to be a move from your playbook. It's going to be a move from the domain. Yep. At the end of the session, mark 2 experience. First is the MC's choice, so ask the MC which domain to mark. The second is the other player's choice. Whoa, that's so cool. Again, this could be old tech, but I'm impressed. I'm allowed to be impressed. Be prepared to answer the other players and the MC's questions about your aims, ambitions, secret plans, and experiences during the session. Other players can't choose to have you mark experience towards the ungiven future until its track is full. Interesting. There's a separate track for that. Okay. We've got some sort of shrine playbook. And, oh, right. Okay, these are like the series playsets. So shrine and the stronghold. I love that they've done this. This is confusing me. I have not read far enough to understand what any of this means. So, anyhow. Here's all your basic moves. This is pretty robust. This is pretty great. You know, I know like Stonetop is like the thing right now. Everybody's big on Stonetop. And like, cool. Happy for you. This looks really exciting to me, though. All right. Apologies. I'm kind of just in that scrolling, like, wide-eyed, like, ooh, wow, ooh. Yeah, there's a ton going on here. Okay, let's get back to the text itself. We will forge ahead for a little bit longer, and then, like I have found out about myself, pushing into the 3rd hour on Discovery Course streams is it's a no-no. I do not do my best work in those times. So, we read the meeting death section, and that's why we went to the sheet. So, experience. We just happened to read this. If no domain seems appropriate, the default option is to choose a right of your own. This allows the character to gain one of the rights already on their playbook, no matter which domain, or else to create a new right with the MC. Okay, interesting. Fate. Destiny is a tapestry, your life one of its threads, and relentless time its weaver. Your fate decrees your part and place in that design. Many a fate comes true, and many is likewise thwarted for good and for ill. You play in part to find out which will be each lead character's story. Each playbook has 3 pre-written fates, with a space to write the name of another lead character or a lead character's people. Fates might represent a pattern of behavior. I am fated to make sacrifices for Euphytri, or they might point to an outcome. I am doomed to betray Volitia. Catch up on this later. Right on, Thaddeus. Always good to have you. Here we go. During the first session, you will choose 2 or 3 fates to fill in. In subsequent sessions, you might be called to write new additional fates. This could be as a consequence of a lead character working enchantments due to a character's right, or in reflection of some event in the ongoing story. These additional fates can be directed at another lead character, a supporting character, or even something more abstract, like a white or a landscape. So we did see those. Let's go look at them again briefly. Here you go. So, bless these designers. Bless them. They've done like they did for the playbooks in Girl by Moonlight, where the fates that you have are unique to the playbook. Again, maybe that's not new tech, but I appreciate that it's here. So, the blacksmith, I'm fated to shelter someone. I'm fated to defy someone. I'm fated to help someone triumph. And then blank spaces for other fates. The peasant beauty, I'm fated to win someone's trust. I'm fated to lead someone to glory. I'm fated to break someone's heart. So the fates guide you towards the tropes and themes of the playbook. So if you read just the fate section of every single playbook, you would get a sense of what stories the game wants you to tell. Isn't that neat? I think that's really neat. If you had nothing else but this, you had the names of the playbooks, maybe a 1 sentence about the playbook, and this, you would know exactly what types of gameplay are expected, because that's what you're going to be driving towards. All right. When a lead character's actions are directly aligned to one of their fates, the player is afforded additional benefits when they make the basic moves. 1 additional hold, question, spend, or choice for working towards your fate, in addition to what your role allows. This does not apply to call on another's aid or push through. So, you are mechanically rewarded for playing to your fates. A lead character might instead set their course steadfastly against their fate, rejecting it and forsaking the benefits listed above. If they do so, then at the end of each session they spend in such struggle. Mark 1 towards unlocking the ungiven future. Fate is the dying gasp of history, a noose you must slip if you are to make the world anew. Interesting. I feel like that push and pull might be almost like too violent. You gotta go through quite a lot of sessions to get to the ungiven future. I'm not gonna be able to find this again. I forget what page it was on. It was... Sorry for the scrolling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 marks towards the ungiven future. So that's 6 sessions before you can even start to claim these. Oh, that's wild, though, because now you can unlock abandon this character to die, and the players can actually put your experience there. You don't get to choose where your experience goes, which I think is fascinating tech. I really kind of like that. You are not what you think you are, but you are, in quotes, how you are perceived by others. That is your actual legacy in the world. That's your whole, like, you know, actions are more important than thoughts kind of a deal. Now, there could be misinterpretations, but you would honestly have this conversation at the table. You would earnestly have that conversation. But it's still fascinating in the framing of it. Okay. Enchantments are supernatural effects bestowed upon a person or object. What do they do? Kind of seem like narrative, like debuff, like narrative truth debuff kind of a thing. So that's kind of cool. A bounty is a loose measure of goods or other resources. Okay, this is cool. So a bounty is a loose concept of wealth, so that you're not tracking coins, basically. But for like community management, so I appreciate that. When a bounty is generated, it is held by the relevant people or household as nominated by the generating character. This is cool. A bounty of furs, a bounty of silver, a bounty of crops, and so on. And then you can use expend a bounty as a move. I'm looking this up because I'm curious what this says about the game. The things that you can spend this on... Oops, wrong thing I looked up. The things you can spend this on will tell us what it is that you are trying to achieve in the game. When your people put a bounty to use, expend it, and choose one to acquire, secure, achieve at the beginning of the next season. Process it into a related bounty. Cool. Exchange it with a trader for a luxury from the wider world. Establish a new stronghold. Create it with 1 fortification. Improve an existing stronghold. Mark 1 improvement. Build a new dam, mill, bridge, granary, roads, similar work of construction. Oh my gosh. Guys, we have stronghold management. Pay your taxes to your ruling crown for the year. Okay. So there's 4 seasons. If we're doing, normal seasons, you want to do one of your 4 to pay taxes probably, or bad stuff's going to happen. Offer it as tribute to end a feud with another people. Cool. That's like buying off negative favor in Astro Prisma. That's funny. Offer it as a gift to secure an alliance with another people, or offer it as payment to buy the service of a war company. All right, so processing it is just elevating it to something more useful. Exchanging it is, again, maybe narrative, maybe you need this thing for that, or so on and so forth. But we're just moving goods around here. We're moving and changing goods around here. Then what we're doing is we're establishing strongholds, we're improving strongholds, we're building things. So these are all about... I'll go back to use the word fruitfulness. I know we had some disagreement on it earlier, but this is about like the creation of new infrastructure. Pay your taxes, which is a protection for you against the consequences of not paying your taxes, but also if we want to be charitable towards taxation, then these taxes should get spent to also do things like build these things that serve the community. Whether they do or not, in your setting, in your world, in your rule, whatever, maybe they don't, and maybe they just keep enabling lavish lifestyles for those at the top. But that's what taxes are supposed to do. And then these ones here are about securing stable community, ending a feud or securing an alliance with another people. So this is about harmony. And then this one's not. Payment to buy the service of a war company. Presumably, war companies are not defensive measures. I mean, except for if you want to say, oh, war is a defensive action, but whatever. I love that it makes you ask that question. So yeah, the bounties that you're earning and assigning to your people, capital P people, which means it could be all sorts of things. They are about trade and resources. They are about infrastructure. They are about deference. They are about harmony, and they are about war. When you gotta, I guess. I guess that's what's up. Cool. Mantles. Mantles are powerful archetypes that can be added to the lead characters above and beyond playbooks. Characters who assume a mantle warp the shape of their destiny, whether through steadfast defiance or the patronage of the gods. A mantle comes with a list of rights, like a playbook, but these are unusual, extraordinary rights that may warp the gravity of the world around them or press against otherwise firm edges of the game's rules and structures. I wonder if those sections we saw earlier, and bear with me as I find them again. These things. Yes, it is a mantle. Okay. This one, yeah, when you take on this mantle, choose two. So these mantles that we were seeing, these other, like, playbook-looking things, they are, like, playbooks that, playbook archetypes that attach onto your playbook. And that's cool. Look at this. Heart of Summer. You are the child of golden summer, beloved of all the living world. You have these rights to approach wild beasts without fear, and lay your touch upon them, to pass beneath the waters and know they will not drown you, to be cradled by the earth when you fall and take no hurt, to have new growth bloom in your footsteps where you touch. There's some really magical, mystical stuff going on here. You have the right to go courting at season's end. When you spend the rest of the season in revels and flirtation, mark experience towards a right of the land itself or the moment. Then roll season. +1 if you have no romantic ties or entanglements. On 10 plus, choose 2. On 7 and 9, choose 1. On 6 minus, the MC chooses 1 for you. That's so silly. Okay. Cool. So these have seasonal elements to them. So it says roll season. Anytime it says roll season, you're going to get a +3 if it's summer, but you're not going to get a bonus if it's a different season. Yeah, that's how I read that. But Rust Red Raven doesn't have that. So different mantles have like entire different like little rules modules. Oh, that's cool. They really are kind of like prestige classes. Dragon Crowned. You are awesome and terrible as a wildfire, as a killing flood. You have these rights to pass through fire unburned and unharmed, to drive any troll that looks upon you into unreasoning terror, to stand before a dragon and demand that it speak with you before it takes your life. Jeez. That's crazy. I don't think we've seen how you get a mantle yet. Have we done that? Lead character assumes a mantle after 3 experience has been marked against that option. No experience can be marked towards it until the ungiven future is unlocked, which means that at least 6 seasons will have passed in play. Yeah. Oh! It's by season, not session. That if you don't play to your fates, because you're basically like, I don't want to be what the world is making me be. I don't want to be what my playbook says I have to be. Then you go through 6 seasons, you mark ungiven future. Then you can start marking tracks towards like becoming a dragon speaker, basically. That's so cool. But you also don't get to choose. Yeah, you do. You do get to make the choice towards the ungiven future. That is in your control. There are 2 scenarios by which a character will assume a mantle: through marking experience at the end of a session, or through a right or MC move during play. At the start of the next session in the first instance, or immediately in the second, break play to discuss that lead character. Discuss their past actions, current circumstances, trajectory, dreams and goals, and their place in the story. Consider what mantle might fit. This may be an existing mantle, pieces from several, or a new mantle written from scratch. Think about what seems obvious or naturally suited, but also think about what might push or pull on the character in unexpected or interesting ways. The whole table should have a say, but the final choice of mantle belongs to their player. When a character assumes a mantle, 2 rights are immediately marked. Thereafter, anytime the character gains a right of their own, they take their choice of a right from their original playbook or from their mantle. That all makes sense. That all tracks. Okay, then we're into... You're kidding me. Have we really just done 12 pages? That's classic. Classic London Station stream. Discovery Core. All right. then we're into like the actual play, right? And we're probably not gonna labor over this. We're into creating characters, which again, this is stuff we do in base camps if we do base camps. MC, guidance, principles. This is everything I was scrolling through beforehand. But we are getting close to wrapping it up. So there's clearly a lot of good writing in here. There's clearly a lot of good ideas. I'm farming from the ideas, whether they intended them or not, a particular vibe for the game. And I always enjoy being able to do that. All the moves. So this is like, again, you're going to need to know this stuff when you actively play it. But if it hasn't piqued your interest by this point, like maybe it's not the game for you, and that's fine. It's got mine. It's got my interest. Yeah. Guidance on what to do between sessions. This is just a playtest document, guys. Threats. The threats are, I guess maybe you might call them fronts in other games. Threats are a framework to help the MC manage those various forces which complicate the lead character's lives. So the world forces and defy the gods would be considered threats. I like it. I like it a lot. And then I talked about these before. The pillars, a central person who can be a problem or a good thing. Kind of like a points of light, but for NPCs, almost in a weird way. But here's the generation, right? Like the pillar, what do they tell you to do here? It's just choose a handful of moves from their threat type. So yeah, this pillar can be someone who's vested with legitimate authority that others respect. That's like a right, kind of. But they crave luxury. They expect to live better than those around them. So you combine these in all sorts of different ways, and you're going to get very different pillars every time. And then there's the moves. Okay, so let me go back up. I know, sorry. I'm like whiplashing you all over the place. Choose a threat type. You got that. Once you have its threat type, choose a subtype and note the associated impulse. It's the main driver of behavior for the threat, the central urge. And choosing an impulse, not a motivation. It might be their go-to method or their unthinking reflex or their most elemental urge or the pattern they revert back to when overwhelmed. It isn't all they want or what they always want. Very well written. Choose a handful of moves from the threat type. Okay. It's very cool. It's very cool stuff. I should switch back over here while I frantically scroll through this, though. Pinpoints, whites, trolls. Creating a people. So yeah, there is a people creation as well. Any player, not just the MC, can create a people. I'm just going to read to you guys on the screen. Create them freely at need. Peoples can overlap in groups and subgroups. A given character can belong to more than one people with no special consequences. But again, your bounties you're associating with people. So the people are supposed to be something that you care enough to mechanically invest in. Potentially. Maybe they're antagonistic to you or whatever it might be. To create a people, choose what defines them, their numbers, what they look and dress like, what their names and language are, who they worship, what they're known for, their highest value, and their place in the world. That's a lot to do. So, there's a lot to put into this, but I would say this is a very robust PbtA game. And maybe Apocalypse World was as much like this as it could be. I have no idea. But yeah, what defines them? There's a list. You choose one or two. What are their numbers? Choose one. 50 souls in 6 households, or 300 souls in 40 households for a vassalage, including 40 warriors, or whatever you want to do. What do they look like? Here's a bunch of prompts, so you don't have to come up with it on your own. Names and languages. So all those things I listed that you have to do, there's all suggestions in here to choose from, so not too overwhelming if you just sit down and do a little bit of homework. What do they hold to be their highest value? Choose one. Respect, strength, independence, fellowship, faith, prudence, or discipline. So yeah, it's like a character sheet for people, basically. What's their place in the world? What's their skill at war? And there's a list of like 20 things to choose from. So yeah, there's people. You do the same thing with households. Households are mostly needed to describe the lead character's living circumstances. Any player, not just the MC, can create one, create them freely at need. To create a household, choose who lives there, its features, its advantages, its legacies, and its trouble. And you have prompts for all of those things as well. This is cool. I would love to play this with a group who's like really into making all this stuff and not being led around by the nose and don't need like reminders to like care about things. But with a group who's like really into it, I think this would be just an incredible game. And there's still so much more that we didn't even get to. Like, you can't really understand the play loop of this game necessarily without looking at all of the moves, and we didn't even look at them. We looked at some of the rights, just a fraction of them. But here, let's look at the basic moves just quickly before we cap things off here. We'll go back to the PDF. Here's your basic moves. Leap into action. This triggers when you take sudden, decisive physical action. You name your goal. And then the MC will tell you which from below you'll need to be. Then roll bold or back down. So you'll need to be brave, hardy, quick, sharp, or steady enough. And then the consequence. Interesting. So maybe the MC can tell you need to be more than one. Yeah. Because you can choose 3 of these. Like, I'm brave enough, I'm quick enough, and I'm steady enough. Because I got a 10+. That's interesting. Bold. Stir someone's passion. When you stir someone's passion, choose 1. Delight, duty, fear, fury, guilt, grief, lust, pity, pride. Then roll bold. On 7+, you draw it out of them. They forbid 1 reaction from below. And then you choose 1. On 10+, it lasts until the season ends. On 7 to 9, it lasts until they sleep. On 6-, some other passion stirs, be prepared for their worst. This is cool. You can use good to win someone over. You can use strong to join in single combat, and this is how harm is going to be done. Right, so okay. So results give you points to spend, and then you can spend them to do harm or gain armor or etc. Strong to push through. Wary to size someone up. That kind of tracks. Wary to take stock. When you consult the other world, answer the MC's questions and roll weird. On 7+, ask the MC any question you like. The MC will do their best to answer it, but may resort to poetry, imagery, or further questions of their own. On 10+, you may ask a follow-up question or 2. On 6-, be prepared for the worst. Call in another's aid. When you roll and it falls short, you can seek aid from another lead character. Tell them what assistance you need. It must be something that would help you succeed after all, and they may have to make their own moves to accomplish it. Should they agree to help, you bump it up by 1 degree of success. It's pretty straightforward. And then you have your denied right and season end moves and season moves. It's cool. It's cool, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Hit the wrong button there. It's very cool. I like it a lot. There's too many games that I like right now, but this looks like one I absolutely want to follow along with. And honestly, mostly more than anything else, I want to get other people excited about this game because there are people who are probably more equipped to engage with this in a more robust and exciting way than even I am. But I love the theming of it, and without the theming of this, I'd be like, cool, it's kind of like a, medieval kind of thing, and like you run around and do stuff. Okay, but the fact that it has this beating heart through the center, and the fact that I can identify it and pull it out and internalize it for myself is what makes me want to engage with games. If I can't find it, then I'll be like, neat. Like, I like it. It's got some cool mechanical things. This is striking a deeper chord than just games that have that other effect on me, so I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's a playtest document. It's available for free. The link should be in the description. Definitely go check it out. Andrew and Luke are clearly very very capable designers, and I'm excited to see what happens with this and the conversation that's generated around it. It seemed like a lot of people were interested responding to it on Blue Sky. So with that said, thank you all for being here. We're going to do the thing we do where we check to see if any of our friends are streaming. We do have our friends over in the Twitch world, even though we're not on Twitch. And so sometimes we raid out to them. I always appreciate when you all raid out along with me. I'm going to see, sometimes I go to people's screens and they're doing stuff that they are not actually doing. Is this an RPG? Okay, we're going to go raid over to Anna. And I don't remember how to pronounce the last part of their name. But we've never raided to Anna before. Anna just debuted a new VTuber model, but they look at solo RPGs a whole ton. And it looks like they're doing something RPG related today. As I look at it, there's a D100 table on the right-hand side and a whole bunch of other things. The 5 Kingdoms of the Ice Mark, if any of you know what that is. So we're going to head over there, and we're going to say this following message, which is the same one I type every time, and one of these days I'll make a command for it. Wait, I think I did make a command for it. Did I? We're going to find out real soon. Oh, I did. Okay, yeah. So if you would be so kind as to come along with me, I would appreciate it. We're going to go right over to Anna. Anna does use he, him, but the character that he uses is female. So that's just a curiosity of the VTubing world. Anyhow, I'm going to head over there, and if you would be so kind to come along with me, even if you just drop in and do the raid and run, these Twitch guys, they know how it works. They understand. They understand we got lives to live and things to do. So I'm going to go hang out in their stream for a little bit following this. Thank you all for being here, checking out Dark Ages, and we'll see you again on London Station in the future. Have a great rest of your Saturday. Love y'all.